Hi students, Dr. Cohen here. I'm going to be going over what is left for the course. Basically module 5. And I know this course has gone very quickly. So just a couple of things to start out with. Please complete your end of the semester evaluation. Very important. I use that feedback. I teach this course online at least once and sometimes twice a year. So it's important for me to get your feedback. I am constantly trying to improve. Feedback's important, good and bad. I really want to hear from you. So take a few minutes to complete that. Second of all, I wanted to let you know that I have tried to be flexible because I realize that the course goes quickly and a lot of you have a lot going on in your lives. So I have been flexible with submission dates. When people have asked me, I have given you a little more time. But in module 5, that stops being the case. So late assignments are no longer allowed in module 5 just because I have to get the grading done and get the grades in fairly quickly. So we have a little over, well, we have a little less than a week at this point, and I'm just not going to have the time to grade late assignments. So everything's due on the due dates, no exceptions. Okay, so what is due on the due dates, you may ask? Well, let's go over it. First of all, for this module, you have 3 readings, and if you notice, chapters 14 and chapter 15, the last 2 chapters are due to be read and the quizzes taken. It's quiz 5, and it's a combination of chapters 14 and 15 together. So make sure you take those quizzes. Just double check that. Just go in here. Yeah, so the quizzes are due. They're 2 different quizzes, but they're due on the same day and time. So 14 and 15 are due on the same day. Okay, so let's have a look at your journal. Share the screen on that. Basically, your M5 journal is a revisit of your M1 journal. So if you look, you're going to go back to journal 1 where you talked about your expectations, hopes, and fears for the course. You're going to look at what you wrote and you're going to compare it to what actually happened. So if you had some certain fears of things that would happen during the course, did those fears come to fruition? If not, then you can say that as well. What were your expectations and your hopes? Did the course live up to those? That kind of thing. And then there are a couple of additional questions in a more general way. Have your perceptions about death and dying changed at all because of the course? If so, how? If not, why not? And then kind of a summary of what you've learned from the class. So this is kind of an opportunity for you to reflect back on the course. What have you learned? Did it live up to what you were hoping for at the beginning? Okay, so that's your journal. And then let me just go back here and I'll go over the assignment. So the module 5 assignment is a film assignment. All of the films that are on this list are available through the university streaming services, and I provide some links, and I'll show you that in a minute. But you're going to watch any one of these films. You're going to select from the films, and then you're going to talk about 3 things. First is how death is portrayed. I'm sorry, 4 things. How death is portrayed in the film. So how do they portray death? These are films about death and dying. So just tell me about that, kind of a summary of that. And then pick 3 topics from the textbook and then talk about how each of those topics was presented in the film. Here, I'm not talking about an entire chapter. You could pick a topic. So for instance, let me just get to the level here. Let's say you wanted to talk about the core model for helping someone through dying. And they talk about physical needs and psychological needs and spiritual needs and social needs. Those are 4 topics. So you can look for each one of those within the film, and each one of them, or there might be a particular type of grief that the person is going through. But that's the kind of the level. And here you're going to talk about how the topic, what the topic is, how it's defined, and then how it's presented in the film. And in this overview, oh, and do not summarize the film. I've seen all of them. I've read many papers on all of them. I really don't need you to summarize that, and you're wasting time in the paper that you need for the content. So your introduction says which film you selected and how death is portrayed, and then just give me a list of the 3 topics that you're going to cover. And by the way, if you want to create categories, like it says introduction, and then you write your introduction, and then the name of your topic, and then you write about that, that would be great. Then it's very clear to me what your topics are, what sections I'm looking at, so I don't have to find them. You don't have to do that, but it can be very helpful for me, and also I think for you as a writer. So for each topic, state what the topic is, how it was discussed in the textbook, and then how it was portrayed in the film. So I want both, you know, like let's say you're talking about disenfranchised grief, and you'd say the textbook defines disenfranchised grief in this way, and then in my film this is how I saw that. Or you know, my topic is Kubler-Ross's stages of grief denial, and in the film this is how the person was really in denial about their own death or the death of someone else, right? So you're going to talk about both what the textbook says on the topic and what the film says on the topic. And then you're going to have a conclusion that ties all 3 topics together. Not just I really liked it and here are my 3 topics, but what did they have in common? What were the threads that ran through the topics? That kind of thing. You know, all of these 3 topics were experienced by the main character, or all of them were experienced by different people within the film, or all of these topics were presented in a way that's very different from the way that the textbook wrote about them. As always, be sure to follow the grading rubric. If you're going to use any other films, you need to get prior permission from me. So you're going to have to let me know at least 3 days before the assignment's due. So at this point, my recommendation is to go ahead and just use the ones that are on the list. So let me go back to the course, and I just want to show you what's in the module. So this is module 5, and you'll see here are the feature film instructions, and then here is a list. So each of these has a link. If I click on it, the film, just hit log in again, I think. You might need to log in. All right. Let's see what happens. There we go. So I logged in, and then the film should just pop up. If you have any trouble accessing contact the library if you have any trouble accessing the film. There we go. All right, so let's see if I can get back. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Let me know if you have any problems. Make sure you double check that you can access the films before the assignment is due. But let me go back to the synopsis. So here I provide you with kind of a description of the film. So that'll help you in picking the films, and you'll click on the link. Some of these are in a streaming service called Swank, which is offered through the university library. Some of them are offered through a streaming service called Canopy. So you can contact the library if you're having trouble accessing the films. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that, but you should be able to access them because I requested all of these through the library streaming service. Okay. So let's get me to stop flipping around here, get into module 5. And then the last thing that I wanted to go over was just the discussion instructions. And that last discussion is to talk about best and worst deaths that you've seen in either a movie or a TV show, and what made them the best and the worst. So what was the worst death you saw? What was the best? So these are kind of memorial memories that you have of watching death in film and TV. And then how do your responses reflect your own hopes, fears, and priorities? Okay, so then you're going to look at some other students and discuss how your own views on the topic and how you relate to what the other student wrote. I just want to reiterate one last time, for module 5, no late assignments will be allowed for the journals, the discussions, or the assignments, because I have to get the grading in. Thank you for a wonderful semester. I'm really looking forward to reading your last journals. Hopefully the course has lived up to your expectations and hopes, and I thank you all. Bye now.